Welcome to
Greetings
Real
this
Estate Talk
afternoon, this
with
evening,
Dream
whatever
Key
time it is,
Circle.
wherever you are watching. We have Mr. David Germain. David Germain, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I mean, it's so shiny up in here. I have to, put my shades on so I'm gonna take.
Okay, all right now. Let me find out you got a box on the building. Okay, so Mr. David Germain, let me just say I know David Germain for about 10 years. My first real estate journey, we met my first office, and he was always professional. He encouraged me, said, "You're going to do great." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." But he was right. Now here we are, 10 years later, and I'm interviewing Mr. David Germain. What a pleasure. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, can you share how your first year started in real estate at a young age?
Wow. So, it's funny, like, real estate, some people choose real estate, and I think real estate chose me, right? So I can say prior to even getting my license, I
Mhm.
saw my mom, who was a school teacher, basically acquire 5 properties prior to me even getting my license. So that kind of intrigued me. And
Mhm.
it was until, unfortunately, she got sick with cancer.
Wow, sorry to
That's
hear that.
she passed away March 11th, 2005.
Mm.
And that's when actually, sorry, March 11th, 2011.
Mhm.
And that's when I decided to learn about real estate and go really hard with real estate in 2013.
Wow, what a sad way to get started. However, I'm sure she's smiling from above right now. I do remember that now that I think about it. I do remember that. I remember going into the beautiful home that y'all shared in
Yeah.
Park Slope, Brooklyn, right? Yes, that was
Man, there's a story behind that home, man, because when I was younger, thank God I don't look like what I've been through. I got hit by a car. And when I got hit by a car, I was in third grade, right? So I have a steel plate in my chin
wow,
and
I never knew that.
surgery.
Mm.
So I had got a settlement, right? And the settlement I got was like about $100,000. Now, the
Mhm.
thing about it, nobody in my neighborhood, I grew up in East Flatbush, Brooklyn, shout out to all my Brooklyn heads, right? East Flatbush. And basically, nobody taught about financial literacy. So nobody taught me about money. So here I am now. I couldn't touch the money until I was 18. And when I became 18, now I have access to this money, right? And
Wow.
man, I just started going on a spending spree, buying a car, buying the rims, buying the system, getting jewelry, and all that crazy stuff, the hood rich stuff, right? Buying liabilities. I spent $90,000 within 3 months. Okay, $90,000. My mom said, "Boy, you're a fool. That money was supposed to be used to either buy
I agree with mom.
the whole thank God for her mom, right?" And she said that money was supposed to either start college or to buy a home. But we were living in a 2 bedroom apartment at the time, and I wasn't thinking. I'm 18 years old, living the best life, you know.
Right.
And my mom forcefully, thank God, got an FHA mortgage,
Mm.
right? Back in 1993
Mhm.
for 130,000. The down payment on that was $10,000.
Wow.
Closing costs to buy
Mhm.
a two-family home in 1993 for 130,000.
Oh, those were the days.
Decision changed it. But everybody says, man, you know what? Knowing what you know now, why didn't you buy more properties back then? But if you take it back to not to 90s Brooklyn, not pre-gentrification Brooklyn. I'm talking when you didn't even want to go to Times Square in the daytime. It was that dangerous. Okay. We had all the drugs. It was the war on drugs, and we were just coming out of the crack era. If you remember New Jack City, and you remember how the Bronx was burning, this is
Mhm.
how New York really was. And not a lot of people wanted to stay in that type of environment, right? But that one decision changed everything. And one decision could set you forward 20 years, and one bad
Yes.
decision can set you back 20 years. That's what led to, the 5 properties that my mom acquired. So that's how I say real estate chose me.
Wow, that was a good choice. Thank God. That was good. That was good. Somebody, your blessings. Yeah, I know you're a praying man, so them prayers work. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yes.
Uh,
So looking back, what key lessons did? Well, you kind of already said that the key lessons that you learned. taught you and you're still using it now to shape, to shape your work ethics now. Like, I mean, I know years go by, you learn different things, you do different things, but I think you kind of answered that question. So I'm gonna move on to the next one I have. How has investing in real estate impacted your personal wealth building journey?
Wow. So just to finish that story, that one property that we bought in 1993 for 130,000,
Mm-hmm.
then the neighborhood started getting better. New York, the war crime, this is Rudy Giuliani years, right? The whole stop and frisk and all that other crazy stuff we used to do back in the days. And
Mm-hmm.
next thing you know, when they got crime out the city, guess what wanted to come back? Businesses wanted to come back. People who left the city wanted to come back to Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it was just like now, all of a sudden, the property value started skyrocketing. Then all of a sudden, the Barclays Center came to Brooklyn in 2009. And Brooklyn, we just became back on the map. It's like when the Brooklyn Dodgers were here with Evans Field, right? So next thing you know, because it appreciated so much, right? That 130,000, that $10,000, which we leveraged to get the mortgage, was able to acquire because it had so much equity. We were able to buy more properties, and then fast forward to 2018, that property in Park Slope, unfortunately, because my mom didn't have a will or a trust, that house sold for $2.4 million, and I negotiated that deal. Okay, so that's the good news about being in real estate. I was able to negotiate that deal with an all cash investor or developer, and $2.4 million. And I look at how my life turned out, and imagine if my mom didn't make that decision and what my life would have been. But these are a series of decisions that were some were good and some were actually bad because unfortunately my mom didn't have a will or a trust. Nobody anticipates when they get a mortgage, and the mortgage is 30 years. It's a long time, right?
That's a long time.
Other people don't anticipate during that time that you might get sick, you might have a heart attack, you might have a stroke, right? Or a car accident. You know, just don't know. Tomorrow's not promised anybody's, right?
That's true.
And I wish my mom would have known some of the things that I know now. So what my mom, the good things that my mom did, I took on, that took on. The things that she didn't have, now I made an ironclad wealth building because, she got sick as the breadwinner in the home, like most people own homes and you're the breadwinner. Nobody anticipates getting sick. Nobody anticipates having a stroke. Nobody anticipates getting a car accident, disabled, or the case may be. But then all of a sudden, now that income is gone. Now you got to say to yourself, can your kids, can your wife, can your husband handle the mortgage payment? Because even though my mom acquired those 5 properties, blessing, right? But then it became a curse to me because those homes all had mortgage payments on them, and I wasn't in a financial position to take on 5 mortgages at the same time. Thank God my mom had life insurance, right? She had $1 million policy. Because of that, we were able to stop the homes from going into foreclosure when she did cancer, right? Imagine all that wealth would have been lost if she didn't have life insurance.
Wow, I'm so excited that I work with Landmark Leap Homes. I could throw that in there right now. And within Landmark Leap Homes, we developed a team called the Dream Key Circle. Oh, we said that, it's a lot of podcasts, a lot of information, but what we're going to do, like what you telling this story now, we're gonna educate people. We're gonna have people who have real life experiences, who really just been through real estate, been through different trials and tribulations, not just things we could read from a book, real stories, real life stuff. So I'm like so excited. I just feel like just hearing your story just has me like it just bursted me up. I'm still a little tired. I was celebrating my birthday, but every day is just like, thank you, yes. So this is like so amazing. Like I'm like so excited because people need to be educated. And this will be your first time on this podcast or whatever we want to call it, interviewing real estate information. And like a lot of stuff that you said is like questions I had, but you kind of put them all together. So we're gonna just like freelance now because this stuff that I know about and I know things that you know about. We don't even need a script because we lived it, been through it, and we're still here continuing. So I'm gonna just ask you, this is just stuff that I wanna know and I want other viewers to know. Um, what would you tell like younger people? Like, I know a lot of people wanna go to college and, things are so different now. They have what is called an AI coming out and it's gonna be taking a lot of jobs and stuff. But real estate is one thing, people always gonna need somewhere to live.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if they're gonna have robots on interviews and showing houses, who knows? Hopefully not. I think they're still gonna need real people for that.
Right.
So what would you say to like encourage them or get them something to think about, like why they may want to choose real estate?
Got you. So one I could say is, most people, the way we're taught in life is to trade time for money, right? And the thing about real estate is considered an asset. There's three types of millionaires in the world, right? Cash flow millionaire, which means they have $1 million in cash. Asset millionaire, that means they have $1 million in assets. And then there's net worth millionaire, that means they have between all of their assets and other things and combine it, and that's their net worth, right? So the thing about it,
Sorry not to interrupt you, but can you elaborate a little bit on that? When you say assets, because maybe some people's looking like, I'm not sure what that means. Just to give them a little bit what that means, because just because we know, somebody
yeah,
else, I'm like, I'm not sure.
so an asset is something that will make money for you, whether you work for it or not. Liability is something that will take money from you, whether you work for it or not. Because a lot of people don't even know that a house, if you're not leveraging it, and leverage is the language of the wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how to leverage, that's the language of the wealthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
You buy a house and we're the ones paying for it, it's a liability because it's not making us any money. But if
Right.
you buy a house and it's making money, we're getting rental income or Airbnb income, and it's putting money in your pocket. Now that house is an asset. So that's the best definition I can give you. And if you know how to buy assets that appreciate in time and put money in your pocket, the book that changed my life, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, right?
Yes.
Breaks that down, right? So that is what I would definitely tell somebody getting into real estate. And then John Paul Getty, who owned Getty gas stations, he said, rather have 1% of 100 people's effort than to have 100% of my own. So if you learn how to leverage your time, leverage your money, and know how to leverage people, right? At the end of the day, we're all being leveraged,
Right. One way or another.
right? Key is, how do you want to position yourself so that you can leverage? Because remember, leveraging is the language of the wealthy. There are a lot of times we're trading time for money, and that that equation doesn't work. There was a time if you work for the city and you had a good paying job, right? Or government and you had a good paying job, that was where you could work 10, 20 years and get a pension.
Right.
Those days are over. Look what's going on now with the government shutdown. You got federal workers losing their jobs, six employees losing their jobs, right? So, job, as we know today, you leverage your job. Hey, if you have a job, leverage it. Use that income so that you can buy your assets.
Right.
I would tell anybody.
Mm-hmm. So another thing I want to throw out there is, maybe just give people some pointers on what they need to do to prepare. If they're thinking about purchasing a home, what are things they need to have in order? Like their credit score, maybe, time served on jobs, a certain amount of down payment, maybe they need, just things they need to think about. We're also putting a book together too, like a little journal, so it's going to help people along the way. That will be coming up soon, guys. So you can look out for that. That's going to be from the Dream Key Circle. Yes.
So I always tell people, two people. All right, I'll use an analogy. You know that me and you, we can get on the same plane, go to the same destination. Yet, even though we're sitting next to each other on the plane, pay twice as much as my ticket, vice versa. Does that make sense? But yet we're on the same plane, sitting right because it's timing, and also knowing how to basically, because maybe you bought your ticket last minute. I bought my ticket a year out or 6 months out, right? Yeah, we're on the same plane. So I tell for my buyers, if I'm telling anybody buying, It's
Mhm.
buying right? Understanding the finance game, understanding the mortgage, right? Don't just go with one particular bank. Look at the terms for multiple banks.
Right.
Based on your income, your credit, right? Because some banks may give you more favorable terms, right?
Mhm.
And just your bank that you've been banking with for the last 10, 20 years, right?
Mhm.
Some banks specialize in mortgages. And there's
Right.
mortgage products out there. There's something called now a DSCR loan, right?
Mhm.
If you're a business owner, there's so many loans out here. There's 203K loans. Get to know the finance so that you buy right, because that's
Right.
the key to, because both two people can buy the same house. One bought it for $1 million, another person bought it for 500,000,
Wow.
and they're on the same block.
Interesting. Yeah, so these are just some of the key things we're going to be zooming in on to help people, their journey and just the education of it all. What they say, knowledge is power.
Oh yeah.
Like,
A lot
yeah,
of people know what to do,
right,
but do what they know.
right.
So applied knowledge is power.
Yes, right. That part. Yes, thank you. True,
Yes.
right. Because you can have a lot of knowledge, but if you don't know how to like put it in order, you can still, stumble along the way. So this is why we're
Execution
here.
trumps knowledge. Execution trumps knowledge. Because you got a lot of people, we know we're supposed to drink water every day. We know we're supposed to work out every day. We know
Yes.
we're supposed to do a lot of things, but we know we're supposed to eat right. We do what we say we're gonna do, right? But we know it, right? But are we
Yeah.
doing what we know, right?
Mhm.
So that translates to a lot of things also when it comes to doing something else. Whether starting a business, buying, we know what to do, but we don't do it all the time.
Right. But the
So,
serious people, if you're really serious, that's why I say we have people who, like, I never was a person, and I'm not trying to be funny or act like I'm a little above certain people, but I don't know, just even as a little girl, I never liked the window shop. I never liked to go in the store and get that temptation. Wow, this is really nice, but maybe I don't have enough to buy it. So when I know I want something, when I go in, I know I have enough because I did my homework. I know how much it costs. I know they have my size. And I know the quality. I kind of researched it, checked out the reviews. So this is good quality. So I know when I go to Saks or, certain stores, not giving nobody no shout outs, but certain stores, quality stores, I know what I'm going to get because I did the research. So it's just like life. You have to research stuff, put yourself in the proper position to be able to make the purchase. And like you said, educate yourself. So
yeah.
that's what it's about. Everything is a circle. It's like the same thing no matter what it is. Whatever you apply, you have to apply yourself to what it is you want. So like I tell people to rent today, and I'm not saying anything against renters. Some people have money and they still refuse to own stuff. They don't want the headache. They say, oh, if the roof get bad, then I gotta do this, I have to do that. But listen, what if you rent in a house and this happened to some of my clients and all of a sudden you get a notice, oh, we selling the house in 3 months. Now you gotta scramble to move. So guess what? Money you probably thought you was gonna have, so now you have to spend that 3, 4 ways to move somewhere. Meanwhile, you could have that money to fix the roof and you're secure. There's nothing like coming home and that's your home. To me, it's a
So
good feeling.
you're hitting so many buttons right now, and I want to tap in or tap root into some of those things, right?
Okay.
You got to think about mindset, right?
Right, I guess.
I think that a lot of times people subconsciously don't feel like they deserve more, right?
Mhm.
Settle, right? Because this is all I know. This is what my grandmother did. This is what so I was following that. Nobody in my family owned property before. So they
Mhm.
never had somebody role model, right?
Right.
It's also understanding the power of real estate, right?
Mhm.
Understanding. I think a lot of times we're fearful of things because we don't understand it, right? Once we understand, you break it down. Okay, well, if I buy this house for whatever price, and well, if I do FHA, I'm paying 3.5% versus paying 20%. Oh, I pay maybe 30,000 FHA, or I pay 100,000. Oh, okay. If you start breaking things down
Right.
understand it in their language, or
Mhm.
because that's where people get intimidated. That's the reason why they don't buy stocks. That's why they don't buy insurance.
Mhm.
That's the reason because people fear what they don't understand. So
Mhm.
what makes a good realtor, broker, is that you can break hard, complex things down so that
Mhm.
break it down in simple form so that they can
Right.
so they can feel educated about the decision that they're making, right? Because they feel comfortable
Right.
entering the situation. See, and sometimes it takes pain, like you said, the landlord having to sell the place, or maybe something happened in the family member where they pass away. Now, because of that pain, it forces them to move.
Right. Mm-hmm.
There's so much mentally there.
Yeah, yeah.
Some-
Yes, because I was the first one in my family, like most of my family, younger growing up, they always had rentals. I was the first one to buy a house. I bought my first house, I think I was 29. That was a few years ago.
I have a question for you. What made you, because you came from the same socioeconomic background,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Same family,
Mm-hmm.
but you had the mindset to want more
Mm-hmm.
self versus your family, right?
Right.
What
Mm-hmm.
made you go out and go want to go get it?
Well, I was the first one also in my family to graduate from college. So I think sometimes it's just like I got a bachelor's degree in human services, right? So I thought I wanted to be a therapist. That was my goal going in. I said I wanted to be a family therapist. This is no lie. People knew I was in college for that. The calls that I got, the clients started coming before I even graduated. I'm like, hold up. I didn't even graduate yet. It was so bad, David, I had to turn my phone off on Sunday. People knew, do not call me on Sunday. And I didn't even want to do it anymore. I graduated. I'm like, this is how it's going to be. I don't want to do this. They burned me out before I could even get started. I'm like, I'm going to be the one on the couch. But anyway, I don't know. I guess like, I don't know, maybe just being around different people. It was just like in my DNA. I don't know. It was just, I was at different time. Huh?
Exposure, being out,
Yes, yes,
seeing things. You gotta remember, some people have never even left their block,
right. That's, yeah.
left their neighborhood.
Mhm,
Some people have never even left their city.
mhm. Right, that's true.
Out there, right?
Mhm.
So you got exposure. I
Yes.
think they're showing people, hey, you can have this. You can do it.
People thought I was crazy. They thought I was too young. They said, "Oh my God, you so young and you buying a house." And not only did I buy a house, it was a double duplex brownstone.
Right.
Like it was a like the house was so big that we needed like walkie-talkies. I could have been being hung or being, I don't know, something happening on the fourth floor. No one would hear me downstairs. I'm like, this is tough. I'm like, hello, I'm like, we need walkie-talkies or something. But it was beautiful. It was a beautiful experience. Like I loved it, like I took pride in it. And I was a teacher at the time.
Wow.
And they were like, oh, maybe you won't be able to get the loan, but my credit was good. I worked on the job for 4 years already. And I had a good realtor. And we still friends today. Like, we still be socializing. And I never forget, she was like, I'm gonna find you your house. And I'm like, okay. And when I went in that house, I knew that was the house. And that's another thing. When you start searching, some people need to just go out and walk in there and just go to open houses, peek in, and you'd be surprised the feeling you get. You look around, you start decorating. When I have clients and they start decorating, I'm like, yeah, this may be their house. And this is a beautiful thing though. Like now, downsize, I have a condo, but I'm still an owner. I'm looking to get an investment property at the same time. So yeah, but anyway, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know it's late. It's what's today? Tuesday. Like I said, I'm still recovering from my birthday weekend. A lot of champagne, guys. But anyway, so thank you so much, David Germain. Is there anything else you want to close with? Please have the floor back.
Well, I want to say wealth is like a table, it has four legs, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of times we only focus on one of the four legs, right? And a lot of times we put all of our eggs in one basket. So let's just say real estate is one of those baskets, right?
Mhm.
But you got to remember what happens when one of those legs is wobbly? What happens when the
It's
table
gonna fall.
fall, right? We've seen it in 2008 with the recession, right? Where real estate, you have people I knew that had hundreds of properties and they lost them all, right? Because they weren't properly positioned, right? Also, you want to have life insurance, which is another component, because in that 30 years or those properties that you buy, and then yes, you're intending to leave it for your kids or your great grandkids. But what happens if you get sick? What happens if you get hit by a drunk driver or somebody texting driving on the road, right? Or one of the crazy things that's going on in the city right now, right? Every day you look at the news, somebody's dying over something, right? Are you prepared that somebody's going to be able to take on that estate? Because too many times I've seen in my career as a realtor or broker where I go there's a difference between wanting to sell and having to sell.
Mm.
And I saw how gentrification started because I noticed when it comes to our communities, when somebody has to sell, and I would say, why would you want to sell this brownstone? Why would you want to sell this home? And you know what? 4 reasons why usually most people sell. Either they lost their job or their business, right? Can't help that, right? They got divorced, right? Or they got sick with a critical, chronic, or terminal illness, heart attack, stroke, or cancer, or they lost the limbs and so many things, right? Or somebody passed away and they didn't have any life insurance. And guess what happened? Now the home that they wanted to leave for the kids, they didn't have life insurance, they have to do a GoFundMe, or the family now has to take on that financial burden. They end up losing this $1 million home with all this equity, and now they're forced to sell because the kids don't have the capital or the money because grandma, grandpa, or mom or dad didn't have life insurance in place, and now they're right. So we don't want that to happen. I said that's why I got to this business, right, so that I can help preserve people's things.
Wonderful.
Okay, so that's basically what I want to leave. You want to have that wealth table, that foundation, so that your foundation is set. State life insurance, credit, right, and stuff, okay. Or
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about stocks too. That's gonna be on our next session. And there's some things I wanna even get a little more into. I have a few stocks still out here, doing okay, but I like to do some more. And we'll talk about that also. What our audience, huh?
got some index funds that I can help you with.
Oh, yes, okay, yes.
Know that you can get these type of returns through cash value life insurance, right?
Mhm.
That companies that can pay dividends up to six,
Mhm.
and you got something called IUL where you can get up to 8 and 15% compound interest. Well,
Wonderful,
others,
wonderful, wonderful. So you promised to come back in about maybe another 3 weeks and we could talk a little more about life insurance?
have me here, I'll be here.
As our audience, I want them to get all that we can offer. And this is why I got into this, like, and let me just add this in real quick. I'm sorry. So, when I did buy that beautiful brownstone, right? So when I went into the house, it was beautiful. They had it decorated, the nice flooring, everything was brand new. But like I said, I was younger. I mean, I learned I didn't know. Like 3 weeks later, I'm in my bedroom with the umbrella. The ceiling was like, I'm like, oh my God. So, I was still on the contract or whatever with them. 90 days, anything happened, whatever, they would come back and fix it. So I'm like, it's raining in my bedroom. I'm like, y'all need to come and fix this. I said, every news reporter in New York is going to be in this house. Oh, they came, and they was coming, they was knocking, they was banging stuff, fixing stuff. But saying all that to say, I knew I wanted to do real estate then. I wasn't an agent then, but I said, when I become an agent, I'm going to make sure my clients have the best, people working around them, get your house appraised, make sure everything is good. I said, I never want no one to experience my experience. And I tell my new agents, I mean, my new clients this story. Like I'm that honest agent. I'm gonna make sure the house is right. So when you come to Landmark Elite Homes and get one of the Dream Key Circle agents, Lord and Nikki Darling, we're gonna make sure your house is strong and ain't gonna be falling apart in 3 weeks. But anyway, that's what I'm gonna close on.
Yes.
All right, talk to you soon, Mr. Germain. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you.